'Tis a Gift opens with a very special Christmas-themed intro. We actually open with Shining Time Station being the busiest it's ever been. I mean, for God's sake, there's more than one customer. It's Christmas time at Shining Time Station, and everyone is doing what they can to make the season possible, such as Schemer, who wants to become Santa's helper because he thinks it will do good for his arcade. Mr. King then walks in, looking very confused amongst meeting a new person at the station. This is Tucker, Harry's cousin. I don't know why Harry isn't in this episode. Maybe they just couldn't afford him for this extra long special episode. Maybe he just didn't feel like doing it. I don't know, but we have his cousin in here instead of Harry himself, which is weird because Tucker really only has this scene and a scene later on, so I don't know why Harry's actor didn't want to do this episode for some reason. Mr. King asked Tucker if he's met Mr. Conductor yet, saying that he has a present for him and make sure that he gets it. Mr. Conductor then sneaks by the both of them and grabs it. I don't know why Mr. Conductor doesn't want to be seen by Mr. King. He's a little weird.
It sure is busy around here.
We actually have people here for once. So Matt and Tanya look and sound noticeably way older than they did in the last episode. And that is most likely due to the fact that this episode came out a whole year and a half after the last one. So these kids definitely did some aging in between them. With the station being busier than usual and the kids not really having a whole lot to do to help out, Stacy tells them to go write their letters to Santa. Set the mood. The kids... Why are you barking? Why are you barking? There better not be any multiversal shenanigans happening this time. You remember what happened last year, right? I showed up in that... right there. I showed up right there in that field. And you were barking at me. And then Gendar teleported me to another dimension. Do you remember that? Because I do. I believe there's more multiversal shenanigans going on, Mia, because I remember a few months ago there was a weird flash going on in here. Yeah, it was like a really weird flash. And let me get down to your level. There was a weird flash going on in here. Alright? And last I checked, SpongeBob and Crazy were in here. And after the flash, I came in to see what happened. And SpongeBob and Professor Crazy were gone. Maybe they were teleported into another dimension, another universe, or maybe they're dead. To be honest, Mia, I honestly don't know where my friends are. It's kind of scary. Like, it's honestly really freaking terrifying to know that my friends are out there in danger, possibly somewhere in another universe, and I just can't get to them. Like, they're in danger. Meanwhile, I'm making over 30 YouTube videos in a row about a talking train. So freaking stupid, really. As I was saying, to set the mood, the kids put on a song, which is a rockin' cover of To Grandmother's House We Go. After the song, the mayor walks up to Stacy saying that he wants to hold the pageant for Santa's helper at Shining Time Station. Stacy's like, oh, hey, sure. The conductor then helps the kids finish their letters to Santa, with the kids asking Mr. C if he's ever met Santa. Mr. Conductor responds that no, he hasn't. He tells them that in order to pass the time quicker, they should go ahead and play outside. But first, he tells them a Thomas story, which, in the version I found on YouTube, they used the HD version available on most Thomas and Friends DVDs in the UK, rather than the one from the recording on VHS, which means that it is drastically different from the rest of this episode. After the story, Mr. Conductor mails the kids letters to Santa, and Stacy has a chat with a friend about who could be Santa's helper. After that, Stacy's friend Claire calls her asking her if she can watch her daughter Vicky, who Matt and Tanya infamously hate.
What is your problem? Vicky, she's horrible!
What is it with kids shows and horrible girls named Vicky? Stacy tells the kids, hey, shut up, she's probably nice. And oh my god, a commercial break! After the break, we cut to Schemer, who is eating as much food as he possibly can in order to become Santa's helper. Stacy's saying that he's missing the point entirely, since he only wants to become Santa's helper in order to promote his business, saying that Stacy will be a much better Santa's helper than him. Schemer says, you're just a little girl. You sexist. Afterwards, Tucker comes in with a Christmas tree, and behind him is a guy named Mr. Nicholas, who's dressed like Pee Wee Herman for some reason. Mr. Nicholas says that he's here to catch the winter star. Stacy's saying that they don't have a train called that. Mr. Nicholas then points out that, oh, I know you, Stacy. You wanted all these toys when you were a kid, and did I mention I'm Santa Claus? Because I'm very, very obviously Santa Claus. Okay, so the episode technically never flat out says that he's Santa Claus, but like, he's Santa. He's obviously supposed to be Santa. He even winks to Mr. Conductor at the end of the episode. He's Santa Claus. Then Vicky shows up, and we as the audience get to see why Matt and Tanya don't really like her very much.
I like your sweater. This thing, my mother made it for me. I think I look stupid.
Yes! So while Vicky continues to be the worst, Schemer also continues to be the worst. God, everyone's just the worst in this episode! Oh, and I guess because this is a very special episode of Shiny Time Station, the band gets 4 songs in this episode. The second one is Jingle Bells. After the song, Stacy is rightfully pissed about all the posters Schemer's been putting up against her. Mr. King then shows up, stating to Stacy that there is no Winter Star train coming by. He says this to Mr. Nicholas, but Mr. Nicholas insists that his train is coming. Schemer then tries to bribe Mr. King into making him Santa's helper. It doesn't really work. The kids are decorating the tree, but Vicky is just not having fun at all and just kind of being a dick about everything. Then she runs away and sits next to Mr. Nicholas. Mr. Nicholas, trying to cheer the kid up, since he's Santa Claus and all, tells her that, hey, maybe don't be so mean and just try to have fun and people will like you. And she's like, okay, and then they have a little fun decorating the rest of the tree. She also thinks that Mr. Conductor is an ornament, so she just puts him in the tree for like 5 minutes. They made a Mr. Conductor doll for this episode. Oh my god, I need that. Stacy's friend from earlier shows up. Schemer tries to bribe her. It doesn't work. After the band's 3rd song of the episode, the kids are almost done decorating the tree. But just as Vicky's about to put the angel on top, she accidentally knocks over the tree. And Matt and Tanya think that she did it on purpose. And so she runs away. After the commercial break, Mr. Conductor finally gets out of the tree and then tells the kids, hey, maybe Vicky did that on purpose and maybe you guys should be a little nicer to her. Just saying. Mr. King then stops by to ask if Mr. Conductor got his present. Stacy says, yeah, he got it. Seeing that Vicky is sad, Mr. Nicholas comes over to comfort her. And then he shows her a video in the viewing machine on how there are several people who have nowhere to go on Christmas and spend Christmas Day alone. And that makes Vicky think, hey, maybe I should be a lot more nicer than I've been. Maybe try to cheer my mom up by singing. Schemer then tries to bribe the mayor, and it doesn't work. And then Mr. Conductor tells us the final Thomas story of the season. Yay! After hearing the party Thomas and friends had, the kids want to throw a party at Shiny Time Station, wanting to invite Vicky since they're not mad at her anymore. Vicky then expresses to Mr. Nicholas on how much she wants to meet the real Santa Claus in order to tell him something. So naturally, she gets really excited when she sees that Schemer is in the Santa's helper outfit, but he reveals that he's just the guy who owns the arcade. But Schemer tries to cheer the kid up at least, stating that the big guy, the real big guy, is probably out there somewhere. Feeling bad that her mom won't be able to get a good present this year, Mr. Nicholas tells Vicky that presents aren't just things in papers and bows. And so she figured that giving her mom a nice thing, something that'll make her happy, will be more than enough. So she's like, hey, why don't I just sing? Mr. Nicholas then leaves for his train, which apparently has arrived to the station, much to the confusion of Stacy. The mayor then comes in order to announce who Santa's helper is going to be, and once the winner is revealed, nobody is happy with the results and they're all fighting. And in order to prevent the fighting from going any further, Vicky starts singing a Christmas carol, and everyone stops to listen to her, and they're all happy now, and her mother is so proud of her, and everybody's happy, everyone's dancing, everyone's made up, everyone's singing, and they're all just having the merriest of Christmas and the happiest of holidays. And this is how the first season of Shining Time Station comes to a close. This episode was a really good Christmas special that definitely knew how to tug at those heartstrings and get those emotional, special, warm Christmas feelings, which is important to have at a young age, like the target audience of this show. So I applaud this episode for attempting to do the heartwarming Christmas aspect for children that young. It is definitely an emotional episode, and it gives you into the Christmas spirit, even though it's freaking September right now. But anyway, guys, that is Shining Time Station Season 1. Now, before we move on to Thomas and Friends Season 3 in tomorrow's video, I just want to state a few things. The show so far is a bit of a mixed bag for me. On one hand, it is an enjoyable, fun, timeless little children's show, much like Thomas and Friends. But on the other hand, it is a very repetitive show that is very long, and a couple of the characters, mainly Schemer, just get way too annoying for me. But then again, repetition is fine when you are making a children's show because kids like things repeated to them. But overall, I would say that at least the first season, Shining Time Station is a pretty enjoyable watch. I enjoyed my time watching these episodes. And as a memory from my childhood that is almost completely blank, like Shining Time Station, it was kind of fun revisiting this show while also experiencing for the first time both at the same time. It's kind of weird, my relationship with this show at this point. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the Shining Time Station Season 1 analysis portion of SteamTember, and please be sure to join us tomorrow where we will begin Thomas and Friends Season 3. We're finally getting to some Thomas stuff in this Thomas and Friends themed month. But until then, I will see you later. Bye!